Welcome, travelers of the dark. Here, every story is a winding road where light dares not enter. Settle in, draw the curtains on the world outside, and prepare to hear what most would rather forget. Tonight, we dive into real stories, stories that happened to ordinary people, but left scars even time couldn't erase. My name is Kayo. I'm 35 years old and I work night shifts as a delivery driver for an industrial laundry company. We serve hotels, clinics, restaurants, anywhere that dirties more laundry than they can wash. My shift runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I drop off, pick up the dirty loads, get a signature and move on. I've been doing this for almost 4 years. After a while, you memorize everything. Addresses, gate codes, which doormen talk too much and which ones don't say a word. Some clients only change the name on the sign. Inside, they're always the same. One of my favorite places to deliver is Hotel Villa Serra, up north in the city. Old building, glass front, 3 stars that have seen better days. But the staff is chill. The night receptionist, Ottavio, is solid, speaks little but clear. Shaved head, calm demeanor, always tucks in his shirt. Calls me by name, signs without rush, always offers a glass of water. Every Thursday, 2:20 a.m., we see each other. Last Thursday seemed no different. At first, I arrived on time, bagged in, honked twice, waited for the side gate to open. When I stepped through the service entrance, the front lobby lights were low, just like always. But instead of Ottavio, there was someone else at the desk. Younger, dark complexion, short curly hair, thin mustache. Same uniform but no name tag. He was smiling, more friendly than I was used to seeing in that place. "Good evening," he said. "Kayo, right? That caught me off guard." Yeah. Are you covering for Ottavio?" "Yep, just tonight." He had something to take care of. He said it like it was no big deal. Nothing in his voice seemed off. He came with me to the supply room, opened it, reviewed the delivery sheet, grabbed a pen. "Same spot as usual?" he asked, pointing where Ottavio always signs. "Yeah, right there." He signed, handed it back, shook my hand. "Thanks, Kayo. See you around." Left me thinking he was a good guy. Maybe promoted from a different shift. Maybe temp from the hotel chain. Not unusual for someone to cover a night. The next night, Friday, I came back to Villa Serra at the usual time. There was Ottavio, like always. Upright posture, calm face, crisp shirt. "Good evening, Kayo." "Hey, everything all right here?" "All good." Pause. I asked casually, "Who covered for you last night?" "Younger guy, curly hair, thin mustache, pretty nice dude." Ottavio's brow furrowed, not suspiciously, confused. "No one covered me." "What? I didn't miss my shift. No swaps." "But I delivered the load." "Who received it?" "A guy. Was sitting where you're sitting now. Knew my name. Opened the supply room. Signed for it." He looked at me for a second. Calm. Firm. "Kayo. No one else has access to that room at night. I'm the only one with a key. The only one authorized to sign. And I was here last night. The whole night." Back in the truck, I pulled out the delivery log. Previous night sheet. Hotel Villa Serra. Time. 2:24 signature. Ottavio Santos, same handwriting. Same name. I spent the rest of the night replaying the conversation with Ottavio in my head. He didn't seem like he was lying. He wasn't trying to confuse me. And I knew what I saw. The voice, the expression, the handshake. You don't make that up. That morning, still in uniform, I went to our company's logistics desk and asked to check the delivery logs. Said I thought I'd written the wrong time and needed to double check. The receptionist didn't question me. She let me look at the digital records. There it was. Recipient, Otavio Santos. Time, 2:24, signature. Confirmed delivery. Complete. The weirdest part came right after. Can you pull the security photo? I asked. Some client sites like Villa Serra have motion cameras near the loading room. Sure, give me a second, she said, typing. 3 seconds later, she turned the screen to me. The image was corrupted, just white light and a warped silhouette. One single frame, no face, no body. Compression error, she said. I asked to check the video. Same thing, frozen for 40 seconds. I let it go Monday. Tuesday night, I returned to Villa Serra. Otavio was on duty again. He seemed more serious than usual. I handed him the delivery form. He signed it. Neither of us spoke. As I turned to leave, he called out, Caio. I turned back. I checked the cameras, he said. Asked them to pull the recording. Guess my story from Friday had been bothering him. And nothing. The backup file from that night failed. Just that night. Pause. Same camera that's been working for years. No one else has access to that wing. Number. I looked at him. He looked right back. Then he said a sentence I haven't forgotten. Maybe someone just did what you said they did. Signed, took the package, acted polite. You mean it was an employee? I'm saying if we can't prove it wasn't, maybe we never had the time to figure out what it was. On Wednesday, I returned to the hotel. No delivery, no uniform. Just me, leaning on my car across the street, sipping gas station coffee from a cracked thermos. I waited. 2 a.m., 2:30. Otavio was there the whole time, at the desk, upright, still, never left, never stepped away, never blinked. The next day, an envelope appeared on the truck seat. No name, no markings. Inside was the delivery sheet from the 15th, the same one, but the signature was missing. After the envelope, I stopped talking about it. Didn't bring it up at work. Didn't press Otavio. Didn't dig further into the cameras. I was afraid of sounding paranoid. Worse, of starting to believe I was. But I made one promise to myself. If it happened again, I wouldn't ignore it. I wouldn't let it pass. The next week, Villa Serra was still on my route. Everything normal. Until Thursday. I arrived at 2:20 a.m. as usual. Parked, honked, waited, gate opened, lobby lights on. And there he was again. The substitute. Same posture, same smile, same thin mustache. Good evening, Caio. I froze in the entryway. Otavio's not here. He smiled. Wasn't feeling well tonight. I pulled out my phone, pretended to answer a call. Hello? Yeah, go ahead. Walked to the truck, hit record on the voice memo app, came back with the delivery sheet. Can you sign here again? Of course, he said. He signed. Same name, same handwriting. I tucked the form away like it was evidence, dropped off the load. He checked it over. Everything's good, as always. Thanks. We shook hands. Warm skin, solid grip, eye contact. I walked back to the truck, drove a few blocks down, parked at a gas station, breathed, opened the recording, hit play, silence, then ambient noise, truck engine, zipper, the sound of paper moving, but no voices, not his, not mine. The next day, I checked the hotel's website, searched for Otavio on the staff list. Nothing. Checked the front desk's social media page. The last picture of him was from 2020. Saturday night, I went to the hotel myself. Otavio was there. The real one. Same eyes. Same shaved head. Need something, Kayo? I nodded. You've been here since 2020? He looked confused. Yeah. And you remember me? Of course. You deliver every Thursday. I exhaled. Have you ever been covered? He paused. For too long. Not that I recall. I've been a rideshare driver for almost 3 years now. I started out of necessity and kept going out of habit. Before that, I worked the front desk at a hotel, but the grueling shifts and the kind of harassment that hides behind fake smiles pushed me to quit. Driving gives me a false sense of control. Just me, the car, and the next destination. I mostly drive at night. During the day, I take care of my mother. She had a stroke a little over a year ago and still hasn't fully regained her speech. We have a caregiver for a few hours a day, but most of the work falls on me. At night, while she sleeps, I hit the road. I try not to stay out too long, but sometimes the bills don't leave me a choice. Rent, medication, debt. I usually avoid trouble. I only accept verified riders with a rating above 4.8, and I steer clear of sketchy areas. I've had my scares. I've even parked outside police stations just in case, but that night, I broke my own rule. It was almost 11. I'd already done 3 easy rides and was about to go offline when a strange request popped up. Cash ride, destination, TBD. The rider messaged right after. I can pay in cash, just need to make a few stops. Nothing illegal. It pays well. The profile photo was blank, no face, just a single letter for the name. R. My first instinct was to decline. My finger hovered over the reject button. But then I thought about the unpaid bills, the card due tomorrow, and something about the message. It wasn't frantic or shady. It was almost bureaucratic. I tapped accept. The pickup spot was a lonely gas station at the edge of town. The place was dead, lit only by one flickering fluorescent bulb over the main pump. He was already there, leaning against the wall, black hoodie over a cap. Tall, thin. As I pulled in, he got in fast and sat right behind me. Good evening, he said flatly. Evening, I replied, forcing a smile. He reached over the seat and handed me a $50 bill. First stops nearby, 5-minute stops, then 3 more stops. I'll pay you more after each one. I hesitated but nodded. The car was already moving. The first address wasn't far, a basic townhouse complex, no visible cameras. He didn't get out of the car, just stared ahead. Exactly 5 minutes later, he said, "Next," and handed me another bill. The second stop made me more uneasy. A closed-down motel, abandoned after a partial fire a few months back. As I parked next to the building, he leaned forward a bit. "Keep the engine running." He didn't say another word, got out and disappeared into the darkness. I sat there, hands on the wheel, eyes locked on the rearview mirror. Minutes passed, like hours. I was about to honk when he returned, calm and clean, not a speck of dust on him. All good. He handed me more cash. Next one's farther. Take the old highway. The old highway. No one drove that stretch at night. No lights, bad shoulders, dense woods on both sides. I swallowed hard and kept driving. The silence between us grew heavier. After about 15 minutes, he finally spoke. "You drive well? Cold, steady. That's rare?" I didn't answer. "Most people freeze up when the unexpected gets in their car," he added, voice unreadable. I kept my eyes on the road, hands tight on the wheel. The third stop was an isolated house, no neighbors in sight. The entrance was a narrow dirt path, unmarked. He guided me with curt directions. "Turn here. Left again. Keep going. When we stopped, I could barely see the house, half swallowed by overgrowth. He pointed. No lights. Someone should be here. He opened the door. If I don't come back in 10 minutes, you can leave. He disappeared into the dark. The wait was worse than all the others. The place seemed to devour sound. No crickets, no wind. Time dragged until my chest tightened with nausea. I kept glancing at the rear view. Pulled out my phone. No signal. 15 minutes. Nothing. 20, 25. I put the car in neutral and stepped out. Against all instincts, I approached the house. The door was ajar, creaking lightly in the breeze. I called out, "Sir?" Nothing. I stepped inside. The floor creaked under me, loud and accusatory. A faint light came from deeper in, a flashlight on a table. Next to it, a notebook, pages scattered. Handwritten notes, dates, names, addresses. Some crossed out. One made my stomach drop. MEGAN, my name, with my home address below it, in thick capital letters. I stepped back. Upstairs, a faint scrape. I ran, got back to the car and floored it, drove 20 minutes in dead silence. Only when I saw street lights, again other cars, did I realize I was trembling. Checked my phone, signaled back. I called the police, told them what I could. They said they'd check it out. I went home, turned off my phone, locked every bolt, spent the rest of the night pressed against the door with a broom handle in my hands. Next morning, I went to the station. They said they'd gone to the location. The house was empty, had been abandoned for years. No signs of recent entry except tire tracks. Mine. The strangest part was what the officer said before letting me go. Miss Megan, there was no notebook. But we did find this on the floor. He showed me a phone. Same model as mine, same case. I took it. It was powered off. When I turned it on, it had just one photo in the gallery. A picture of me, sleeping in the driver's seat, taken from the back seat. The phone wasn't mine. My name is Caleb. I'm 34 years old. I sleep during the day and watch other people live at night. I work as a security operator in a 24-hour surveillance center. I'm the guy who gets the alert when someone breaks into your property while you're sleeping. I sit in a narrow room lined with monitors, alone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The zero shift, as we call it. Most nights are mind-numbingly slow. False alarms, motion sensors triggered by cats, or spiderwebs vibrating in the breeze. I've lost count of how many times I dispatched patrols for nothing. I have a ritual. Strong coffee, jazz instrumentals in my headphones, and eyes flicking across 20 screens. Some in color, others in grainy black and white, depending on the client's system. Homes, stores, warehouses. Always dark, always still. That night started no different. Grabbed my coffee, sat down, adjusted the brightness on the screens, and activated the grid. 3 hours of nothing. Then a notification blinked at the bottom of the screen. Motion detected. Client number 2187. Residential, front yard. I pulled up the corresponding feed. A suburban house in Portland, well-kept lawn. The sensor had picked something up, or someone. I advanced the footage frame by frame. There it was, a figure standing in the yard, near the fence, still, wearing a long dark coat. I couldn't make out the face. I watched for minutes. No movement. Sent a standard app alert to the client. Perimeter motion detected. Image attached. Please confirm if everything is okay. No reply. Normal. It was nearly 3 a.m. I kept watching. The figure didn't move. After 10 minutes, the motion alert stopped. I rewound the footage. The figure vanished between 2 frames. No motion, no alarm trigger, just gone. I logged it and moved on. But an hour later, another alert. Client number 2210, residential backyard. Another house, another city. Same setup. A figure standing in the backyard. Same coat, same posture. Completely still. This time, partly hidden behind a tree. Only the outline visible. Sent an alert to the client. No answer. I rewound. The figure appeared between frames. No entry, no exit, no transition. I was tense now. Opened other residential feeds at once. Not recommended. It overloads the system. But I had to know. Had to see if... There. In a different home, no motion alert. The same figure standing beside the fence. This time, directly facing the camera. I stopped breathing for a moment. The landline rang. The sharp tone made me jump. Hello? Silence. This is Delta Security, night shift. Caleb speaking. Click. They hung up, back to the screens. In one house, the figure had vanished. In another, it was still there, closer to the building. No movement caught, just a shift in position. I began reviewing old footage from the past few nights, searched through 24-hour systems, and I found it. 4 nights ago, around 3 a.m. Same figure, same behavior, different homes, different states. It made no sense. I grabbed my personal phone, texted the internal group of operators, asked if anyone had seen anything strange recently. No answers. Just my supervisor, cold and blunt. Focus on your shift, Caleb. Avoid reviewing old files during hours. Everything is working as expected. Everything is working as expected. Now the figure was in 3 more feeds, one of them facing a porch. The figure was closer to the door. In another, it stood in the middle of a garage. A low hum started in my ear. Deep, subtle, constant. The emergency light flickered. So did the monitors. For half a second, every screen froze. When they came back, wherever the figure had appeared, it was closer. Like it advanced only during system glitches, I shut everything down. Rebooted the grid, my breathing shallow, my throat dry. When the images came back, one particular feed froze me. It was the security camera from my own home, an interior cam I'd installed for paranoia's sake, a private system, local, not connected to the company grid. But now, there it was, and in the image, the figure, inside my living room, still, silent, head tilted slightly toward the front door. I hadn't accessed that camera feed ever, not here. Opened the app on my personal phone. Black screen, only sound, a faint dry clicking, like wood flexing under pressure. The figure on the screen turned its head, not toward the camera, toward me. I looked at the door to the control room, locked, but I heard it. From the other side, click, software rhythmic, like someone resting their forehead against the wood. I reached for the emergency button. It didn't respond. The red light stayed dead. Tried the phone. Line dead. I stood slowly, approached the door. The sound stopped. Opened it a crack. Nothing. Empty hallway, same as always. But the silence felt different. Too quiet, like the world was sealed off and I was inside something airtight. The emergency light blinked once, then I saw it. On the back wall, where there'd been a system panel, there was now a single monitor. Old, boxy. Office. Then it turned on, showing a live feed. Of me, in that very room, but there was a glitch. The chair was empty. I was standing there, watching the screen, but the feed showed no one. I looked around, touched my arms, stomped the floor, hands shaking. Back to the screen. The figure appeared beside the chair, slowly turned its face, not to the camera, but directly to me. The lights cut out, sound gone. For a second, I thought I passed out. Then I woke up, on my couch, at home. Morning light bleeding through the blinds, TV off, phone on the table, no missed calls, no alerts. Opened the company app, no incidents logged. Thought maybe I dreamed it, some dissociative lapse, fatigue, paranoia. But when I went to the bathroom and splashed water on my face, I saw it, a red dot in the corner of my left eye, a pinpoint mark, like a reflection. I leaned in, pulled out my phone to try to record it, and the screen showed. Behind me, the figure, still, tilted, watching. My name is Lena. I'm 41 years old and I work the night shift at the Silver Pine Inn, a roadside motel somewhere between Carson City and nowhere. I get in at 9:45 p.m., grab the front desk key, boot up the system, and spend the next 8 hours trying not to fall asleep. I've worked all kinds of jobs, cashier, hospital laundry, even overnight babysitting. But after the divorce, when the house, the dog, and the so-called stable life disappeared, I took this night gig. It pays the bills, and I don't have to spend the night alone staring at the ceiling. Nights at the Silver Pine are quiet. Sometimes it's truckers, sometimes people running from something. I don't judge. I just log them, charge them, and hand them a key. That night, it was almost 2 a.m. Everything was still. I'd already checked in 2 walk-ins and 1 online guest. Everyone was in their rooms. I was reading an old book behind the counter, feet propped on a box of towels. Then I heard it. Ping. A new booking. I stood up, stretched, and checked the screen. Reservation received via third-party system. Immediate check-in. Room 209. I frowned. Room 209 wasn't supposed to be available. It had been blocked since February. Officially, because of a plumbing issue. Unofficially, it was where a man died violently. The stories vary. Overdose, fight, something ritualistic, according to the whispers. The hotel covered it up, sealed the door with tape, left it untouched, pretended it didn't exist, but now it was back. Room 209, guest en route. I opened the admin panel. Sure enough, 209 was listed as clean and available. Last updated, 11:37 p.m. But I hadn't done that. Neither had the last shift. I checked the change log. Only 1 entry. Username root admin. Never seen that before. I returned to the front desk, uneasy. Picked up the phone to call the manager, then stopped. Headlights appeared on the road. An old black sedan pulled into the lot. No visible plates. Moved slowly, deliberately, parked far from the lobby. A woman stepped out. Tall, thin, pale. Jet black hair tied back. Dark dress, no shine. Walked with quiet confidence toward the automatic doors. No suitcase, just a small bag. The door opened with a hiss of warm air. "Good evening," she said. Her voice was soft, precise, unhurried. Good evening," I replied, a chill already crawling under my skin. She stepped to the counter. Her eyes were dark, too dark, and fixed on me like she was reading something behind my forehead. "I have a reservation," she said. I checked. There it was. Name, M. Halley, room 209. "Of course, Miss Halley. Are you traveling alone?" She smiled, only with one corner of her mouth. "Always." I handed her the key. My hands were shaking. She took it without brushing my fingers. "Do you need anything else?" I asked, trying to sound neutral. "Just silence," she said, then added, "He comes back when it's loud." I frowned, but she was already turning away. I watched her on the security feed as she climbed the stairs. Second floor, south hallway, room 209. The door, did it open by itself? I couldn't tell. The image glitched. She entered. The door closed. Minutes later, the feed froze. All second floor cameras went offline. I tried a reset. Nothing. Toggled the hallway lights. No response. Checked the power box. No issues. Back at the desk, a notification blinked. Motion detected. Room 209, 2:51 a.m. That was impossible. That room had no active sensors. Opened the feed. Still frozen. But the audio worked. I heard something. Static. Then what sounded like breathing. Not words. Just ragged, dry, rhythmic breathing. As if something massive was approaching the mic. I returned to the desk. The woman hadn't come down, but someone had passed through the first floor hallway. The figure was tall. Too tall. And it moved slowly, like it was gliding. I zoomed in. The screen went black. A second later, the lobby door slid open, on its own. The air was warm now. I grabbed the phone. Dead. My cell. No signal. I cut the auto system and shut the door manually. Locked it with the emergency key. Stood there, hand on the bolt, listening. Nothing. I climbed to the second floor, slowly. The hallway was dark. Ceiling light flickering. Room 209's door, slightly ajar. I tapped it gently. "Ms. Halley? Everything all right?" No answer. I leaned in. The room was empty, bed untouched, lights off. But something lay on the floor. An old VHS tape, labeled 209 in smudged handwriting. I ran back to the lobby, locked everything, sat on the floor shaking. The system clock reset itself. The date now read March 2nd, 1997, same date as the supposed incident in room 209. One more notification popped up. Checkout completed, room 209, 3 a.m. I ran to the window. The black sedan was gone. Checked the system. No record of M. Halley, no reservation, no entry, no camera feed, no audio. All clean, except one thing. The tape, still in my hands, and written on the back, in red ink, one phrase: "He wakes when they forget." My name is Derek. I'm 38, and for almost 5 years, I've worked night security at a distribution center on the outskirts of St. Louis. It's a maze of containers, warehouses, and loading zones, all surrounded by high fences, cameras, and warning signs nobody reads. I work the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift, alone. It's cheaper for the company to have just one guy on duty overnight. My eyes, my legs, and my radio are supposed to be enough to cover a space the size of 5 football fields. I've never liked the word security. It gives the wrong impression. I don't carry a gun, just a baton, a vest, and a panic button on my shoulder radio, which sometimes fails. Cops take 15 to 20 minutes to arrive. That's too long. Most nights are uneventful. Scheduled patrols every hour, scan in checkpoints at 12 stations across the property, report anything unusual. I spend the rest of the time in a glass booth with stale coffee, a cold sandwich, and camera feeds that mostly show raccoons or stray cats. But that night, around 2:17 a.m., something moved on camera 11. A shadow. Fast. Slipping between 2 containers in Sector B, the outer zone. I figured it was an animal, but the size felt off. Taller. Upright. I zoomed in. The shape vanished behind stack 23. I adjusted the contrast. Nothing. grabbed my flashlight, clipped the radio to my shoulder, and stepped out of the booth. The air was humid and still. No breeze. The only sound was the low hum of the highway in the distance. I headed towards Sector B, walking slow, flashlight scanning the ground, checking corners. When I reached Stack 23, I stopped. There, in the dirt beside the container, were fresh footprints, heavy boots, not mine. I crouched, inspecting them. The tracks came from the brush, zigzagged and disappeared behind the metal wall. I made noise on purpose, stomped, called out, "Hey, this is private property." Nothing. Checked the perimeter. Empty. But something was wrong. Around the back of the container, the lock was cut. Someone had used bolt cutters. One end still dangled, bent from force. I pulled the door slowly. Inside, stacked boxes, textiles. Nothing seemed touched at first glance. But as I turned to leave, I saw something in the corner. A half-full water bottle and a crumpled energy bar wrapper. Someone had spent time in there. I rushed back to the booth and reviewed the day's footage. Camera 11 had a blurry white smudge over the lens for nearly 2 hours before midnight. Dust. It was blinded. I switched to camera 10, covering the side entrance. At 11:47 p.m., I saw them. 2 people. Hoodies and caps, hopping the fence, out of view in 5 seconds. No alarms went off. The motion sensor for Zone B had been disabled manually at 11:30 p.m. I checked the logs. It showed authorized access, internal code. But I hadn't done that, and the shift before mine had clocked out at 9 a.m., which means someone with internal access disabled the system. A chill hit me. Not the kind from cold, the kind from combat. From knowing you've already been outmaneuvered. My radio crackled. A faint noise. Breathing. I pressed the button. "Control, anyone copy?" Silence. More static. Then a voice. Garbled. Distorted. "You see it now, don't you?" My throat tightened. "Who is this?" More static. Then, "We saw you first." I dropped the radio and ran to the electric fence panel. Offline. Someone had cut the fence. The screen showed a breach between posts 14 and 15. I sprinted back to the booth, locked the door, killed the lights, tried the panic button. No signal. Pulled out my cell phone. No service. Cameras 9, 10, 11, 12. One by one going black. Only one feed remained. The booth interior. Live feed. Me. Behind me just glass and darkness. Then something moved. A blur passed behind the booth. Quick. Silent. I spun around. Nothing. Swung the flashlight toward the dark lot. On the ground, just outside the door, lay something. A cell phone. Unlocked. Its screen showed a live camera feed. Of me. But in the image, there was someone next to me, very close, wearing a cap, a hood, breathing. My name is Nathan Elias Crow. I'm 31 years old, born and raised in Indiana, currently working remote IT, which basically means I spend most of my life locked inside, staring at screens, trying to remember what day it is. I'm not the outdoors type. I don't like dirt, bugs, or not knowing where I am. But I said yes to the trip for 2 reasons. It had been too long since I'd seen Mason. I needed to get out of my own head. Mason's been my friend since high school. Loud, impulsive, always acting like nothing matters. The kind of guy who'll drop everything and drive 3 states just to see the ocean. Dylan's newer. We met online through a gaming group, but the connection was real. Quiet, sharp, smart, in a way that's a little unsettling. Most of all, he's obsessed with nature. The trip was his idea. Off the map, he said. No marked trails, no signs, just us and the woods. 3 days in an isolated patch of Kentucky forest, away from signal, noise, people. 1 tent, some beer, nothing else. We arrived late Friday afternoon, left the car at a dirt path where the GPS had already died. The rest of the way was on foot, following Dylan, who moved like he'd been born there. The ground was too dry, cracked wide, like something had screamed underground and never got out. The air was heavy, still. No birds, no bugs, just our boots crushing dead leaves. Mason was excited, dropped his bag by a set of flat stones and stretched his arms. This is perfect. No one around, just trees, peace, and warm beer. We set up camp fast. 1 tent, big enough for 3. Dylan tied red ribbons to a few trees, so we don't lose our way. Mason unpacked the food. I sat on a rock and watched the sky fade purple. It should have felt peaceful, but it didn't. Something in the air felt held back, like the forest was listening. That night, around the fire, Dylan started talking about forest sounds. You can tell what's out there by how it moves, he said, staring into the flames. 2 steps and a pause. Raccoon, fast and heavy. Deer. But if you hear 3 dry knocks, evenly spaced, that's not an animal. Mason laughed. What is it then? Dylan shrugged. Could be a person, or something trying to sound like one. The silence afterward was thick. We laughed, nervous, weak laughs, and let it pass. We went to sleep around 11, each in our own sleeping bag inside the tent. I woke up in the middle of the night. No dream, no noise, just suddenly awake for no clear reason. The tent was still. The fire outside had burned out. Just silence. A silence that pressed against the skin. I lay there, listening. Then I heard it. 3 dry knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Not close, not loud, but precise. My heart started pounding. I told myself it was a branch, or an animal, or wind. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I didn't call out, didn't move. Just lay there, eyes open in the dark until sleep took over again. In the morning, Mason was gone. His backpack was still there, unzipped. But he wasn't. We tried to act like it was normal. Dylan started with the obvious guesses. Said Mason probably woke up early, went off to explore, maybe wanted some space. That was something Mason would do. Disappear for effect, come back with a story. But he never left without saying something. His backpack was there, half open, water bottle inside, phone with no signal, nothing packed, no footprints we could follow, no sign of a struggle. Just gone. You see him leave? I asked. No, Dylan said. Maybe he got up before sunrise. He's probably messing with us. It didn't feel like a joke. We made some instant coffee with what water we had left and waited. 1 hour, then 2. We called his name in every direction. Dylan started whistling. This little 2-note sound Mason always answered with. Nothing. We decided to look for him, grabbed flashlights and water. We still had some signal in spots near camp, but no new messages, no pings. Dylan picked a direction, said it made the most sense. He kept saying that over and over. Makes the most sense. Like it would keep us safe. We walked slow, checking both sides, watching the ground. At some point, we passed a wide fallen tree with a hollow trunk. I remembered it because of a split in the bark that looked like an eye. 20 minutes later, we passed the same tree. Not a similar one. The same. Same hollow, same moss on the left side, same scratch on the trunk Dylan had made earlier with his knife. I stopped. This is the same damn tree. Could be another one just like it, Dylan said. Number look. He walked around it, checked the ground, didn't say anything for a while, then looked at me. Maybe we looped without realizing. Maybe. But the branches I'd stepped on before were still broken. The same beer bottle cap Mason had dropped on the first day, still lying there. This place is wrong, I said. Dylan nodded. We go back to camp, start fresh, no trail. We walked back in silence. The air was hotter, no breeze. It felt like the forest was holding its breath again, waiting. When we returned, something was off. The tent was untouched, backpacks in place. But my sleeping bag, the one I'd rolled up, was half unrolled, twisted, like someone had been lying there. You mess with my stuff? I asked. No, Dylan said. He looked pale. I believed him. We didn't talk much that night. No fire. We ate cold, quiet, went to bed early. For the second time, I woke up in the middle of the night. This time, it wasn't silence that woke me. It was footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling the tent, not rushing, not sneaking, just walking. Like whoever it was already knew where everything was. I reached for the zipper and pulled it an inch, just enough to peek. Nothing. But the fire pit, the one we never lit that night, had a red ember glowing in the middle, like someone had blown on it seconds before. I woke up alone. Dylan was gone. His tent was unzipped but too neat. Backpack untouched. Flashlight still inside. No struggle, no drag marks. Just gone. I circled the camp 3, maybe 4 times. Called his name. Nothing. Then I saw something that froze me. One of the red ribbons Dylan had tied to a tree on the first day was now on a different tree, or the tree had moved. I grabbed my pack and left. No plan, no compass, just picked a direction and walked. I followed what looked like open space. No trail, no map. I didn't care. I just wanted out. But the forest didn't want me to leave. I started recognizing things. Same moss patterns, same bent branch, same sun-bleached rock. The hollow tree was back, with the split that looked like an eye. But now a stone had been placed inside the hollow. It stared. The air was dead. No breeze, no birds, no bugs. The only sound was my boots, and something faint, somewhere behind me. I kept moving. Sweat soaked my back. My hands trembled. I started hearing things. Breathing, not mine. A shuffle across dry leaves. Something pacing me. Every 100 steps. A faint crack, like a stick breaking. Always behind me. Never close, never far. I turned left, fast. Caught movement. A shape, human-sized, moving between 2 trees. Dylan? I shouted. I ran. No sign, no reply. But 10 meters ahead, lying on the dirt, my water bottle. The same one from my bag. I hadn't dropped it. It was warm. The cap wasn't tight. Then it came again. 3 dry knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Closer than ever. I ran. Didn't think. Just ran. Branches tore my clothes. Something caught my shin and I hit the ground hard, face first. Blood and dust filled my mouth. I got up, dizzy, and kept running. The sound was everywhere now, behind, beside, above. It wasn't chasing me, it was herding me. Until finally, a sound that didn't belong, an engine. I pushed through the last few trees like an animal, fell onto pavement. A road. I screamed. A pickup truck stopped. Old man in a hat. I couldn't speak, just pointed. He put me in the back and drove. We reached a farm 20 minutes later. The cops interviewed me 2 days later. I told them everything. They organized a search. Drones, dogs, volunteers. They found nothing. No Mason, no Dylan, no campsite, not even a red ribbon. Like the forest swallowed it all. They said I was dehydrated, in shock. Suggested I'd imagine parts of it. Maybe I did, but sometimes, late at night, when the house is perfectly still, I wake up. No dream, no sound, just awake. And I hear it. Knock, knock, knock. I work the midnight to 8 shift, Sunday through Thursday at Steady Mart, one of those 24-hour convenience stores that only stays open because nobody's bothered to shut it down. It's on the north edge of St. Louis, sandwiched between a broken-down gas station, 2 empty houses, and a strip club that's been closed since 2017. The people who come in at this hour usually want one of 3 things: nicotine, caffeine, or trouble. I've seen it all. Kids trying to steal booze with their school backpacks, women bleeding, asking for rides, rideshare drivers buying energy drinks like it's medicine. You learn quickly not to ask. I just smile, scan the barcode, bag the items. Let the world handle itself. That's why it took me a while to realize what was wrong with him. I don't know his name. I called him 172 because that's the number of the camera he always showed up on. Camera 172, the east door angle, the one no one uses because the lock sticks. The first time I saw him was on a Tuesday. He bought a lighter, a pack of gum, and a Coke. Paid cash, a crumpled 5 3/4. Nothing strange, maybe just a calm. He moved like someone rehearsing. Not slow, just precise. Every move, every glance. He came back Wednesday, same time, 2:47 a.m., same items, same crumpled bill, same 3 coins. I joked, "Deja vu?" He looked at me for a second, a beat too long. Didn't smile, didn't answer. Grabbed his bag and left through the stuck side door, the one that screeches in the quiet. Thursday, I was already waiting. Not because I thought he'd come, but because I hoped he wouldn't. He came. Same clothes, same walk, same smell, something like dust and old fabric, same transaction, same silence. But this time, before leaving, he turned his face toward camera 172. Not toward the mirror, not toward me, toward the camera. And he just stared. 3 seconds, like he was checking the angle. He didn't come on Friday. I waited anyway. You know when something strange becomes part of your routine? Like waiting for a sound you don't want to hear, but its absence makes you more nervous than the noise itself. That's what it was. The silence of the door, not creaking, felt worse than hearing it open. The next Monday, I came in early, got there around 11:30 p.m. and reviewed the 172 footage. Same pattern, same ritual, same timing. But something had slipped past me. He never looked directly at me, always at the camera. Same blank face, motionless. Pause, stare, exit. I went to the manager's office. The camera tech, Greg, always left his login in the same notepad. I opened the logs. Strange, the footage from Tuesday to Thursday last week. Corrupted. Read error. But only for camera 172. The others worked fine. Tuesday, he came back. But something had changed. He didn't buy anything. He walked in, went to the gum shelf, stopped, looked at the camera for 4 seconds, then left. No words, no bag, no hesitation. Like he already knew the rehearsal didn't need props anymore. Wednesday, he brought an old phone, one of those cheap prepaid models, set it on the counter. "For you," he said, first time he spoke. Same neutral voice, no accent, like he was reading a line. He picked up a Coke and left. I stared at the phone. A beat-up Nokia, no case, no visible SIM card. When I turned it on, it had one contact saved. L. L. For Lisa? For location? Or just lunacy? I didn't show it to anyone. Locked it in the supply drawer. By then, something inside me knew calling the cops wouldn't do anything. He hadn't done anything wrong. He hadn't threatened me. He hadn't touched me. He was just a customer, one who seemed to know everything about me, where I looked, how long I stayed at the register. Thursday, he didn't show up, but someone else came in at 5:03 a.m., just as the sky was lightening. A tall man in a dark cap and backpack bought coffee, smiled, and as he took his change, he said, "The rehearsal's over?" and walked out. I checked camera 172, exact timestamp 5:03 a.m. But the footage was black, a 13-second gap, and when I opened the drawer, the phone was gone. Friday, I asked to switch shifts, told them I had insomnia, said mornings would be better. A lie. I just wanted out of that midnight slot. But the manager said the other night clerk had quit. By text. 3 words. "I'm done here." No explanation. So I went back. Midnight shift, double coffee, pocket knife in my apron, personal phone on silent. I spent the first hour just watching. Every freezer reflection, every customer's hands. Nothing. But at 2:30 a.m., I got a call. From the same number saved in that missing Nokia, blocked caller ID, but it was him. It had to be. I answered. "Lisa?" said a woman's voice. Calm, clean, no accent. "You have 8 minutes." Click. Deadline. I looked around. Everything still. Quiet. I took a deep breath, grabbed my cell and called the manager. Voicemail. Then I called the police, almost ashamed. "Is there a threat?" the dispatcher asked. I hesitated. "Maybe. Not exactly." I explained the pattern as best I could. They said they'd send a patrol car to swing by. Bored tone. I thanked her and hung up. 2:38 a.m. The man with the backpack walked in. Same cap, same expression. No smile this time. He didn't browse. Just walked straight past the shelves, turned left, headed to the back of the store. I followed. By the time I turned the corner into the canned goods aisle, he was gone. I ran to the back. The emergency door, the one that only opens from inside, was cracked open, and something was on the floor. A black store loyalty card. Blank. No name, no logo. Just one number embossed in silver. 172. On the back, handwritten. If you lock it, he enters. If you open it, he waits. I tossed the card, rushed back to the counter, turned on all the lights, grabbed the box cutter and laid it on the counter in plain sight. At 3:12 a.m., camera 172 died. Signal lost. 4 seconds later, the store lights flickered. Just once. And then, silence. The lights came back. Normal, as if nothing had happened. But camera 172 stayed dead. Just static. No feed. As if someone had shut off only that one. The east side entrance, my only view of that street, was now a blind spot. And then I heard it. The doorknob. Not the front, not the back. The storage room door, the one only I used. A metal click. Twice. Click. Click. My throat went dry. I grabbed my phone. Dialed 911 again. "Emergency. What's your..." "He's here," I cut in. "In the back, storage room. He's trying the door." The operator said something about staying calm, but I hung up. Ran to the breaker panel. Shut everything down. Lights, sound, fridges. The whole store fell into this thick, solid silence. I crouched by the storage room door, knife tight in my hand, pressed my ear to the wood. Nothing. I opened it slowly, inch by inch. Empty. But the supply cabinet was open, and things were missing. Gloves, duct tape, 2 power cords. I ran back to the register, switched the lights back on. And that's when I saw it. On the bottom candy shelf, just under the dead camera, there was a dollar bill, folded in fourths. Standing upright, I picked it up. A message written in pen, "You trained with me. Now train alone." And beneath it, an address. 43rd Street in Alton, industrial zone, a shut-down packaging plant. I recognized it, by name only, a place people mentioned in passing, boarded up for years, beside the bill. A key. The police showed up at 3:39 a.m. 2 officers, young, confused. They swept the store, checked the cameras. No footage after 2:30 a.m., like it had all been wiped in real time. They took my statement, said they'd file a report, and suggested I take a few days off. I described the man, cap, backpack, build, and one officer paused. "That matches a case on the north side," he said. "Ongoing, can't comment." By late morning, I went home, but I didn't sleep. The card was still in my pocket. So was the key. And deep down, I already knew if I went to that warehouse, I'd find out everything. But maybe I wouldn't come back. I kept the key in my drawer until Sunday night. Didn't touch it. But around 11 p.m., I got a message. No number, just one line. "Last chance. You or someone else." That was it. No threats, no demands. Just something that felt final. Like he already had everything he needed. I was just a variable, optional. I took the key, drove to the address, industrial zone, dark, empty. The warehouse was low and rusted, with cracked signs and no lights. A side gate hung open. No sound, no movement. As I stepped inside, my phone lost signal. It smelled like dust and metal, dead wood and cold air. And inside, there was a table. On it, a monitor, turned on, showing a live feed from the store. Camera 172, active, real time. Someone had restored the feed, pointed it at the register, the chair where I sat every night. Next to the monitor was a folder. Inside, printed photos of me at the store, in the lot, on the bus, at home. Some taken from angles that could only have come from inside the store or from a handheld camera. At the bottom of the stack, a different photo. A woman, sunken eyes, dyed hair, steady mart uniform. On the back, handwritten, "Midnight shift. Missing. Aitzonizibil nyon." Another one, "Midnight shift. Missing. Ikibin ondokuz. 4 women. I would be the 5th. I felt the sound before I heard it. Footsteps on metal. Behind me. I turned. He was there. Cap in gloves, syringe in hand. He said nothing. Just walked toward me. I ran. Knocked over a stack of boxes. Tripped, got up, bolted toward a rusted staircase. Climbed it without thinking. Locked door at the top. Nowhere to go. He climbed slowly, one step at a time. When he reached the top, syringe still ready, I did the only thing I could. I jumped, landed on him full force. The syringe flew. We rolled down the stairs. I broke free, grabbed the key still in my pocket, and stabbed it into his shoulder. He screamed. First sound I ever heard from him, like an animal. I ran to the car, started it, drove. Didn't look back. At the station, they didn't ask much. There'd been reports. Women going missing in similar shifts, similar areas. No evidence, no suspects. Until now. With the folder, the camera, the warehouse, they said they had enough, but they didn't find him. He vanished. The store closed. 2 weeks later, quietly. Renovations, they said. But sometimes at night, I dream of camera 172, and it's still on, still recording someone. My name is Nathan. I'm 32 years old, been a trucker since I was 24. I drive at night because the roads breathe easier without heat or traffic. Also, this way I make it home earlier and squeeze in a few hours with my daughter on Sundays. That week, I was on a routine route, Dallas to Pueblo, Colorado. Almost 11 hours of driving, no long stops. Light cargo, packaged appliances, sealed, nothing risky. The plan was to leave at 5 p.m. and drive until about 4 a.m., stopping only in Amarillo for gas and coffee. Dry air, clear sky, everything perfect. I was on US Route 87, well past Amarillo, when I noticed the car, a silver sedan, generic model, tinted windows. It showed up behind me around 2:15 a.m. Nothing unusual at first, but after 20 minutes, I realized it was maintaining the exact same distance. I sped up, so did they. I slowed down, they matched. I stayed alert. After 40 minutes, it was still there. Not too close, not far enough to disappear. I took the next gas station ramp, pulled over, stopped, got out pretending to check my tires. The car drove by slowly, didn't stop. I could just barely make out the driver's silhouette. Alone, windows up. I took a breath, waited 5 minutes, got back on the road. 15 minutes later, there it was again. Same distance, same headlights in the mirror. I started to feel the weight of it. I ran a test, turned on my blinker and took a secondary road, a narrow 2-lane stretch parallel to the main highway. 5 minutes. The car followed. That's when I knew. This wasn't random. I said out loud, "All right, asshole, let's see how far you go." I didn't call dispatch, didn't contact police. Not yet. Didn't want to sound paranoid and didn't want to alert anyone if something was being planned. I decided to head for an old truck stop I knew at exit 38. There's usually someone around. Coffee, bathroom, lights, 25 minutes away. The whole time, the car kept following. Never passed, never dropped back. Almost 3 a.m. I got to the stop. It was closed. No lights. The store was empty, like it had been abandoned in a hurry. The open 24 hours sign was dark. I pulled into the lot, slowed down. The car behind me didn't pull in. It drove by, slowly. That's when it hit me full force. I parked, jumped out, stayed close to the driver's side door, watching to see if they would stop or turn around. Nothing. 2 minutes passed. I climbed back into the cab. Then I saw it. On the side of the trailer, someone had placed a black X made of tape. Subtle, right where the sidelight wouldn't hit. Not mine. That wasn't there when I left Dallas. Not in Amarillo either. Someone had marked my truck. I got inside, locked everything, started the engine, left the stop, pulled out my phone, called state police, told them what happened. They were polite, indifferent. Suggested I head to the nearest patrol station. It was 60 kilometers away. I rejoined the highway. The silver car reappeared, closer this time. Headlights off. Office at 3 a.m. My adrenaline turned into nausea. Grabbed the company radio. Called in, "This is Nathan, Unit 54. I'm on 87 North, being followed by a silver sedan. No plates, no lights. Requesting response." Silence. Then static. A voice came through. "Unit 54, received. Stay en route. You're already tagged." That wasn't dispatch. I cut the signal. Saw a sign. Construction ahead. 1 lane only. Speed limit 45 kilometers per hour. Slowed down. The car got closer. It was a trap. I knew. At the last second, I took a sharp right onto an off-ramp into a small village. Nameless, broken sign. I turned between 2 houses, parked behind an old barn, shut off all lights, waited, in the dark, listening to my own pulse. 5 minutes, 10. Headlights in the distance. The car drove past the main road. Didn't see me. Only then did I call the police again. This time I gave them everything: truck number, company name, license plate. Asked for an escort to the nearest state patrol post. They came. 30 minutes later, 3 cruisers escorted me to the checkpoint. They asked questions, kept me there until daylight. When they finally searched the truck, they found something in the spare wheel compartment. A magnetic tracker, professional grade, no common GPS, encrypted frequency. Not from the company. A few days later, I got a call from a private number. A man with a calm voice. "They cancelled the freight, Nathan, but we'll be back on a night you don't turn off." I changed my route, switched trucks, and stopped driving at night. Not out of fear, but because I understood something. That night, I wasn't hauling anything worth stealing. The truck was the cargo, and I was the freight. My name is Danny Rourke. I'm 34. I'm nobody special. After I got laid off from the factory, I took whatever paid at the end of the month. That's how I ended up working night shifts as a janitor, hired by a third-party contractor, paid hourly, no benefits, no name badge, just keys, a radio, and silence. Last week, they placed me in a commercial building in downtown Cincinnati. 5 floors. Built in the 70s, barely updated. During the day, it housed accounting firms, lawyers, some call center. At night, it emptied out. My job was simple: clean the floors, check the locks, turn off the lights. It was supposed to be 7 nights, just a temporary fill-in. The regular janitor, a guy named McGill, was on leave. No one said why. A guy from the agency met me on the first night. He couldn't wait to get out of there. "Quiet building," he said, checking his watch. "Dead after 6. Cameras cover everything. Radios for protocol only. No need to reply if no one talks." He handed me a keyring, the radio, and a clipboard with a routine checklist. I signed without reading it. The first night went as expected. The second, the elevator moved on its own at 2:13 a.m. The third, a broom changed floors. The fourth, a patrol checkpoint lit up while I was somewhere else. The fifth, I heard my own voice on the radio. And the sixth, I found the notebook. It was black, worn along the edges, no markings outside. But inside, it was full. Page after page of handwritten logs. Dates in the top corner, March and April, 2 months before I ever stepped inside that building. The handwriting looked nearly identical to mine. Plain, rushed, all caps. Each page began the same way. Shift started at 10 p.m. Everything seems normal. But as the days went on, the entries changed. Elevator activated without request. Storage room door unlocked again. Tool missing, returned in different condition. Then, parallel presence in building. Not sure I'm the primary shift. On the 6th night, I found the notebook open with a fresh note. "Don't turn off the light in room 503. He forgets." But the building only had 5 floors. There was no room 503. That same night, my badge wasn't at the desk. The radio wouldn't charge. The motion lights took too long to turn on. At 3:04 a.m., the front desk phone, dead for years, rang. Extension 000. I picked up. Silence. Then my voice. "Danny. It's me. 7th night. Friday." I arrived at 9:50 p.m. The front door was unlocked. No supervisor, no checklist, no working lights. In the janitor's locker, the notebook waited. Open. New page. "Last shift. He'll try to replace. Don't let him." At 2:22, the elevator climbed on its own. I followed. On the 5th floor in the hallway, my work vest, name stitched in, still warm. Back at the front desk, the phone rang again. Display. Internal call, extension 000. I answered. Silence. Then, someone has to stay. The security panel blinked. Duplicate shift, occupancy conflict, authentication required. 2 entries. Danny Rourke. First at 9:55 p.m., second at 10:08 p.m. I went to the basement. The hallway lights died behind me, one by one. In the janitor's room, the locker stood open. Inside, a man, sitting, back turned, wearing my vest. Same haircut, same building. "Hey," I called out. He didn't turn around. I stepped closer, slowly, the air heavier with each step. He stood up, calmly, turned to face me. The face was almost mine, almost. Something was missing, not eyes, not a mouth, but something in the expression, or its absence, that told me it wasn't me, but it wasn't someone else either. He looked at me, then walked toward the door, stopped, and said in my voice, "You're with me now." Then he left. The next morning, the company called. "Danny, you didn't show up last night." "What?" "The system didn't register your entry. And one more thing, the key you were using," pause, "is already in the building, in the janitor's locker, where it's always been." I tried to go back, same address, but the building was sealed off. Closed for renovation sign on the gate, different facade, bricked up entrance. I looked through the slats. No lights, no cameras, no sign of life. But in the shadows, just inside the corridor, I saw a vest, hanging on a hook, with my name on it. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 42 years old, and I work the night shift at the Baltimore Traffic Operations Center, midnight to 8 a.m. I sit in a cold windowless room in front of 4 monitors, each one split into grids showing live camera feeds, traffic sensors, and automatic alert systems. We don't control the traffic lights directly. They're managed by software that adapts to real-time traffic flow. But if something goes wrong, an accident, a stuck signal, a duplicate plate reading, I'm the one who sees it first. I'm the city's eyes after dark. Most nights, that means watching empty roads, listening to low-volume police radio, and filling out internal reports with phrases like "normal flow" or "detour implemented." Routine, silence, cold coffee. On Monday night, around 3:10 a.m., something caught my attention on Franklin Boulevard, a 4-lane arterial running through the city's south side. It was subtle, small, but I've seen thousands of hours of city traffic. You start to notice when something's off. The signal at the intersection with 12th Street wasn't behaving right. Not a standard failure. No stuck red light, no dead sensor. It was more subtle. The green cycles were happening too fast, like they were repeating in half the usual time. Almost like the system was accelerating. I checked the diagnostics panel. No technical errors, no maintenance tickets, no flags. I opened the camera feed from the corner. 2 cars went through, then another. All within the lane, no speed violations. But when I went to check the license plate readings, I saw it. None of the plates were logged. No OCR, no radar, no follow-up detection at the next light. They'd entered that stretch of Franklin and then just vanished. I pulled up the sensors at 14th Street, where those vehicles should have shown up. Nothing. Switched to the next camera feed, frame by frame. 1 car, a silver SUV, approaching the intersection. Last frame, Headlights lighting up the crosswalk. Next frame, empty road. No motion, no blur, no transition. I thought it might be a transmission glitch, latency, buffer issue. I waited 10 minutes, checked the data again. No new vehicles appeared. According to the system, it was like those cars had never been there. I logged it as a tech report. Possible sensor failure on Franklin Boulevard, 12th to 14th. Signal timing irregular. 3 vehicles visually confirmed but absent from system logs. Possible OCR delay or input error. Recommend review of local node. Sent it. Finished the shift. But the feeling stayed with me because it didn't look like a system glitch. It looked like the street had swallowed them. I came back to the traffic ops center Tuesday night, planning to forget what I'd seen. Glitches happen. Buffers fail. Sensors misread. That's what we tell ourselves, so we don't turn every error into paranoia. Still, I left one window open on my monitor grid, just the live feed from Franklin and 12th, tucked between the usual displays. Nobody notices. Nobody cares. Night work is invisible, just like the things it watches. At 3:10 a.m. sharp, the signal started acting up again. Cycles sped up. Greens lasted less time. Yellows blinked for 2 seconds. Reds flickered between transitions, exactly like the night before. I hit record. 3:12 a.m. A dark sedan enters Franklin from 12th. Passes through a blinking green. At 3:13 a.m., a small delivery truck follows behind. 3:14 a.m. A white van with a faded decal on the rear window. 3 vehicles. I checked the sensors at the next block. Nothing. No reads. Pulled up the next camera. Frame by frame. Each vehicle's last appearance. Headlights, hood crossing the line, forward motion. Next frame, empty street. No turns, no brake lights, no trace. Just absence. I went into the license plate database, entered them manually, character by character from the recorded frames. The sedan, 2KCX31 no match. The truck, JQ842R no match. The van, partial only, but the first letters were VDK. System returned. Plate not found. It was like the plates never existed, but I saw them. Blurry, yes, but clear enough. I even paused the video when the van passed. There was a pale shape in the passenger seat. Maybe a person. Maybe a reflection. Then I froze, because that white van, with that decal on the back, I'd seen it before, 6 months ago, in a complaint video submitted by a woman through the 311 system. She'd reported malfunctioning traffic lights at an intersection on Belmont Avenue. The video showed the same van turning onto Franklin Boulevard at the same stretch. I searched the complaint system for her name. Amanda Cole. No result. Checked the city incident log. Nothing. Found the original video in the database. I was sure it was the one. The file was there, but when I opened it, it was corrupted. Only the first 3 seconds played. Engine hum. A right turn signal blinking. And the woman's voice, clear and steady. It's always the same place. On Wednesday night, I showed up to my shift with a flash drive in my pocket. I brought copies of everything I'd recorded. The chopped video clips, missing plate readings, timestamps. Not because I was afraid of losing them, but because I was starting to suspect that somehow they were being lost on their own. First thing I did was check the Monday night report, the one I'd written. The system logs everything: time, operator, input. But my report wasn't there. No mention of the Franklin anomaly. No sensor failure. No irregular signal cycle. Nothing. I opened the edit history. There was technically an entry under my username, but it wasn't mine. It read, "System functioning normally. Low volume traffic. No detours required." Logged at 3:49 a.m. It hit me hard. I remembered exactly what I typed. This wasn't it. I went to speak with someone on the tech side. I tracked down Neil, our overnight network technician, an old hand from the days when traffic cameras still used analog tape. I showed him the clips. No commentary. He watched quietly, then asked, "You try pulling the backup stream?" I did. Nothing. Same missing seconds every time. "Sensors?" "All show 0 returns." Neil scratched his head, folded his arms. "Strange, but could be a loop fault. When 2 road segments conflict, the system sometimes wipes redundant records." 3 nights in a row, same location? He didn't answer, just asked, "Anyone report this?" "What? A driver, a complaint, a call-in?" I shook my head. He nodded, then said something that made my stomach twist. Then maybe the system's right to delete it. Back at my terminal, I searched again for Amanda Cole, the 311 caller, in other city databases. DMV, property tax, health records, nothing. Tried a wildcard plate search for VDK, hoping to catch anything statewide. The system began loading, then crashed. Error. Query limit exceeded. Try again later. That had never happened. This was a local tool. No query limits. I opened the automated reports log, checked for system events on Franklin Boulevard between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. the past few nights. The files were there, all of them marked updated 1 hour ago. Each said overnight flow normal, no anomalies, signal timing standard. Operator listed D. Mercer. My name, my digital signature. But I hadn't written that. I saved everything onto the flash drive, closed every window, and wrote down, by hand, on a sticky note, "The system is correcting the failures on its own." Or maybe it's correcting what it thinks are failures, and maybe I'm one of them. On Friday night, I didn't go to the traffic center. I called my supervisor at 11 p.m., told him I had a fever. He grumbled and said he'd switched the system to semi-automatic mode, which honestly happened a lot when someone missed the overnight shift. But I wasn't sick. I had a fully charged phone, a small tripod in my backpack, and directions to Franklin and 12th on my GPS. I parked 2 blocks away on a side street. The city lights looked normal. Trash cans tipped over, blinking street lamps, that high-frequency buzz of electric lines you only notice when it's dead quiet. I waited for 20 minutes, watching. 3:09 a.m. I stepped out, walked to the intersection, set my phone on the tripod, hit record, 4K, audio on. I leaned against a wall, tried to look like any other insomniac. 3:11. A black Corolla passed through the light. 3:13. A white van. Thought it might be the same one. 3:15. A red sedan. Headlights misaligned. All headed straight toward 14th Street. No turns, no stops. I followed on foot, one step at a time. Sidewalk empty. Reached the next block. No cars. Nothing ahead, nothing behind. No engine fade, no curves, no braking. I turned. The street behind me was just as empty. I went back to the phone, opened the video, frame by frame. The Corolla enters the intersection. Green light, moves forward. Next frame, half a second later, gone. Not accelerated, not blurred, just not there. Even though I had seen it live, I'd watched it pass. But the footage showed it never left the crossing. I waited there until 3:25 a.m. No new cars appeared. I grabbed the phone, walked back to the car, As I got in, something made me look at the passenger window. On the inside of the glass, stuck to it, was a faded sticker. Blue background, white text, "It's always the same place." Same design I'd seen on the van in the first clip. Same phrase Amanda Cole had spoken 6 months ago. Saturday morning, I brought the phone and the video to a friend in City IT. Asked him to extract the metadata, verify the file, and save it somewhere secure. He agreed. Technical guy, trustworthy. Monday, I texted, "Did it save?" His reply, "You gave me a phone with no files on it." I didn't argue. I went back to the intersection the next night and waited. Nothing passed between 3:10 and 3:20. But the next morning, a new entry showed up in the traffic center's system. Automated report. Abnormal signal synchronization. Franklin and 12th. Interval. 3:10 to 3:20. Inconclusive vehicle flow. No registration. Diagnosis? Duplicate ID error. Corrected. Signed, D. Mercer. The system knows something happens there, but it prefers to call it an error and fix it, even if that means erasing people. Daniel Hart, 37 years old, night patrol officer in East Detroit, had answered every kind of call involving low-end motels, domestic fights, drug users in withdrawal, entire floors hotboxing whatever they had. But there was a pattern. It was always someone yelling in the hallway or banging on the front desk. When a call came from inside a locked room, the mood changed. That Tuesday night at 2:41 a.m., the radio crackled. Unit 42 report of screaming coming from room 209, Eden Inn, Grayshirt Avenue. Front desk claims intermittent female vocalizations. Door is locked from the inside. No weapons mentioned. No recent activity flagged at the location. Hart confirmed. 12 minutes later, his cruiser rolled up to the curb outside the Eden Inn, a filthy 2-story building with a peeling sign, boarded up windows, and hourly rates listed by hand on the glass door. He stepped out calmly, radio clipped to his shoulder, hand near his holster. The night manager, pale, thin, wearing a torn t-shirt, stood behind a cracked plexiglass panel. "It was the girl from the last shift who called," he said. "She left before you got here. But I heard it too. The screams, not loud, but real." "Which room?" 209, second floor, back of the hall, locked from the inside. Hart climbed slowly. The carpet reeked and absorbed every step. Flickering lights. No sound but the dying hum of an old hallway fan. He stopped at room 209. Knocked twice, firm. "Police. Anyone inside?" Silence. Knocked again. "Room 209. I need a response." Then a voice. Low. Male. "Everything's fine, sir. Just a mistake." Hart felt his instincts kick in. The voice wasn't angry, not nervous. It was calm, polite, practiced. "I need you to open the door, sir. She's sleeping. Had a panic thing. I was just about to call someone." Hart stepped back, reached for the radio. Unit 42 requesting backup. Locked location. Possible unconscious female inside. Holding entry until support arrives. While he waited, he pressed his ear to the door. Nothing. Then something dragging along the floor. Metal against wood or plastic. He tested the handle. Firmly. Locked. No secondary bolt. He could kick it. He unlocked his holster, squared his shoulder, and with the sharp crack of wood giving way, Officer Hart entered room 209. Lights off. Stale air, smell of urine and cheap perfume. On the floor, near the bed, a woman, bound with belts and a phone charging cord, duct tape over her mouth, hair glued to her face with sweat, and in the corner a man standing upright, hands already raised. Clean polo shirt, trimmed beard. The calmest expression Hart had ever seen in a room like this. The man smiled and said, "She called you using the phone I left her?" Hart's first move was instinctive, weapon drawn, 2 steps wide to keep his field of vision clear. "Stay right there." "I am," the man said, with a smile too calm for the scene. "Away from her, hands where I can see them." "Of course, officer." He moved slowly, no hesitation, no fear. Hart approached the woman on the floor, eyes locked on her, gun still aimed at the suspect. She was alive, breathing fast, bruising around her wrists but no visible fractures. The duct tape was loose, stuck only at the corners. She tried to speak, just a desperate, muffled gasp. "You're okay now," Hart said, pulling the tactical knife from his pocket. He cut the cords, peeled off the tape. She inhaled like someone breaking the surface of water. Her voice was broken. He left the phone, said I could call, said it had to make sense. "On your knees, hands behind your head." Hart snapped at the man, turning slightly, but the suspect was already kneeling, hands folded behind his neck, perfectly still. No resistance, no fear, just posture. Backup arrived 7 minutes later. Paramedics came in first. The woman was taken out in shock, but fully conscious. No confirmed sexual assault, but bruises consistent with prolonged restraint. Sergeant Evans followed, found Hart silent in the doorway, gun holstered. The man, now cuffed, seated calmly against the far wall. "Your radio cut out when you called for backup," Evans said. "I figured. Front desk says he paid for 2 nights. No ID, just a first name." "What name?" Evans flipped the paper. "Gavin. No last name. No record." Hart looked into the room. The TV was on. Blue screen. No signal. No power cord. At the precinct, while the man was booked, Hart watched from behind the glass. The suspect kept smiling. Not mocking, not smug. Just calm. A detective asked, "What's the motive? Kidnapping? Ransom? Relationship?" Hart shook his head. She didn't know him. Said he followed her into the stairwell. Looked like he was offering help. After that, nothing. Did he say anything? Just that he left the phone, so she could call. Said someone had to see it. Any signs of mental illness? None. Before he was moved to holding, Gavin, if that was his name, looked directly at Hart and said in the same flat tone, "Now it's documented." Then turned around, like finishing a task. The next morning, Hart filed the report exactly by the book. Confirmed crime. Victim in shock. Suspect present at the scene. Arrest made without resistance. In the notes section, he wrote, "Suspect remained calm throughout the entire response. Showed no signs of agitation. Claimed he left the phone on purpose so the victim could call police. Stated someone needed to see." 2 days later, Hart was called into investigations to go over the case. Detective Grace Morrow from Special Crimes already had several files open on her desk. "What's bothering you the most?" she asked. Hart took a moment. "That he didn't run. That happens. Not with that kind of control. Not with that kind of preparation." Grace nodded without replying. Then she placed 4 photos on the table. 4 women, 4 cities, 4 similar cases in the last 2 years. Always between midnight and 4 a.m. Always with the perpetrator waiting to be caught. Always leaving the victim alive. The difference, Grace said, is he never used the same name. No fingerprints. Never repeated. A city. Hart stared at the photos. One case was in Indianapolis, another in Toledo, a third in St. Paul. "You think it's the same guy?" he asked. "The only thing he repeats," she replied, "is leaving the victim alive and making sure someone in uniform shows up." At the end of the week, Hart asked to visit the suspect. Gavin, if that was his real name, was still in custody. No lawyer, no family, no ID. Didn't resist questioning, but never explained anything. "I don't hate them," he told Hart in the interview room. "Then why do it?" "Because someone has to arrive. Someone has to see." "See what?" He smiled, like he'd been waiting for that question. "How long it takes." And then it's another place, another time. Pause. "And someone like you." The following week, Hart was reassigned to a different part of the city. 3 nights later, a fellow officer told him that Gavin's cell was empty. No escape, no transfer notice, no explanation. The system said, "Released by court order, file sealed." Hart went back to the Eden Inn on his own. Room 209 was locked. The front desk clerk said no one had stayed in it since that night. People ask for other rooms, but no one wants that one. "Why not?" The clerk shrugged. "They say there's noise, voices, TV sounds, but no one's inside. We cut the power every day, but the screen stays blue." I've always been the reserved type. Never needed much noise around me to feel alive. Maybe that's why I so quickly accepted an old friend's offer to stay at his cabin in Red Pine, a tiny town surrounded by thick forests deep in Maine's countryside. I needed time away from the real world. Away from the city, the honking horns, the suffocating skyscrapers, the life that seemed to crush me 1 inch more every day. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 32 years old, a financial analyst by trade, a survivor by soul. It had been months since I'd slept properly. Maybe there, among the trees, my mind could finally settle. I arrived on a Sunday evening. The sky was already bleeding into purple, and the forest shadows stretched long over the dirt road where my car jolted forward. The cabin was simple. Weather-darkened wood, a small porch, a crooked chimney climbing toward the sky. No other houses nearby, at least none that I could see. I found the keys under a stone, just as agreed. When I opened the door, the smell of old wood and dust greeted me like an old acquaintance. I walked through the house quickly. Small kitchen, living room with a cold fireplace, 2 modest bedrooms, a bathroom fed by a well out back. Simple, but perfect. I unpacked without hurry, dropped my backpack on the couch, struggled to light a fire in the hearth, and made myself a simple dinner. Canned soup on an old wood stove. That night, I fell asleep early, lulled by the crackle of flames and the wind singing between the trees. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe things could get back to normal. The first 2 nights at Red Pine were peaceful. A deep silence. So deep that I found myself thinking how strange it was to hear. Absolutely nothing. No distant cars, no barking dogs, not even insects buzzing beyond the crackling wood. On the 3rd night, the silence changed. It didn't end, it changed. I was lying down, reading under the weak light of an old lamp, when I heard it, something on the porch. A creak, subtle, like the weight of a person stepping on a loose board. I stood up slowly, held my breath. The house seemed to listen with me. 3 slow steps to the front window. I peered through the curtains. Nothing, but something was wrong. I could feel it. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, a cold electric wave rushing over my skin. I closed the curtains slowly, forced myself to smile, to breathe. Maybe a raccoon, I muttered, trying to sound reasonable. I returned to the couch and turned on the old kitchen radio to drown out the uneasy silence. Static. I spun the frequency dial. Nothing but crackles and hisses. Weird. That morning, I'd easily tuned into a local country station. I forced myself to finish my book, forced myself to believe it was just nerves, a mind used to city noise adjusting to absolute silence. But later, as the night swallowed Red Pine whole, I knew. While half drifting on the armchair, I caught a glimpse, just a flash, of a dark figure standing near the trail, about 20 meters from the porch. It didn't move, it didn't hide, it just watched. The next morning, I swept the area around the house. Found nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, no sign anyone or anything had been there. Maybe it had been a dream. Maybe. But that night marked the end of my peace at Red Pine. The next night, I barely slept. Every crack of the wood, every gust of wind tapping against the windows made my body tense like a trapped animal. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a sound from the kitchen. Something metallic, like a chair scraping across the floor. I moved silently, heart pounding in my ears, grabbed an old flashlight and crept down the hall. The kitchen looked the same, but in the center of the room, there it was, one of the dining chairs, pulled out, facing the doorway, as if someone had dragged it there to sit and watch me sleep. I approached slowly, the flashlight beam shaking in my hand. Nothing else, just the cold of the night and the fading smell of burnt wood from the dead fireplace. I rechecked all the doors, barred them, pushed the couch tighter against the front door, returned to the bedroom, but sleep was impossible. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, counting the imaginary ticking of a clock I knew didn't exist. At first light, I went outside to investigate, and that's when I saw it. 50 meters behind the cabin, where the forest grew dense like a wall, a piece of torn fabric snagged on a bush. Gray, dirty, as if ripped from old clothing. And further beyond, something worse, a wide tree trunk clawed with deep vertical scratches, not from an animal. Too high, too deliberate, human, or almost human. I returned to the cabin with shallow breath, feeling invisible eyes trailing me from the trees. I made myself a promise. One more night. Just one more. Then I would leave at dawn. The problem is, at night, promises are easy to break. It was close to midnight. The dead fireplace threw long shadows on the walls. The wind howled outside. But it wasn't just the wind. I heard it, clearly. Footsteps. On the porch. Heavy. Slow. And then, more. Several. The wooden boards groaned under their weight. They moved side to side, encircling. I held my breath, grabbed the old pocket knife from my backpack, a sad joke against whatever was out there. The front doorknob rattled, trembling, insistent. I didn't wait. I shoved the couch against the door with my shoulder. Through the window, I saw them. 3, maybe 4 figures. Tall, wearing dark clothes. Faces hidden under hoods or makeshift masks. One approached the window and pressed its face against the glass. Even with the little light, I could see empty eyes, expressionless, and a smile. A slow, wide smile. A smile that said, "We already won." The house shuddered. Someone kicked the back door, once, twice. I ran to the bedroom, locked the door, shoved the dresser against it. Footsteps inside the cabin now. Heavy, furniture crashing, boots pounding the wood floors. No choice. I hurled the bedside lamp through the bedroom window, shards exploding into the night. I jumped through, landing hard on my shoulder, pain shooting through my arm. I didn't look back. I ran. Into the woods, into the darkness, branches cutting my face, rocks shredding my legs. Behind me, shouts, not words, grunts, growls. They were chasing, no idea where I was going. Just away. I stumbled, fell hard, split my knee open on a branch, got up, limping, bleeding. Gunshots echoed. Not aimed at me, warning shots. They were calling each other. I hid behind a fallen log, covered my mouth with my hand, silencing my ragged breathing. I stayed there, frozen, for hours, until the sky began to lighten, until the crows started cawing again. Only then, with my body battered and fear clinging to me like filth, I dared to move and walked away from the cabin, walked away from them. If walking away was even possible, I don't really remember how I got out of the woods that morning. Everything blurred, dreamlike, but the fear stuck. I wandered aimlessly for hours. The forest swallowed the light. Every crack of a twig made my chest seize. Eventually, I stumbled onto the dirt road, and further down, a battered pickup truck sat idling. A farmer. He opened the door without a word, staring at my torn clothes, my hollowed eyes. I climbed in without asking. He drove, didn't say a word, dropped me off in a neighboring town. A place with noise, smells, people. People who would never know, could never know what waited in Red Pines woods. I checked into a cheap motel, barricaded the door, closed the curtains, shoved a dresser against the entrance, called my friend. No answer. Tried again. Still nothing. The days passed. No news, no explanations. I never went back for my things. Red Pine became just a name I refused to say aloud. Sometimes, while waiting for an elevator or staring out a city window, I feel it again. That presence. Sometimes I catch glimpses of shadows reflected in store windows. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night, sure I heard footsteps outside my door. I don't know if they followed me. I don't know if I'll ever really escape. But once you've felt real fear, the primal kind, it never leaves you. It lives inside you. It breathes through you. It watches you while you try to pretend you're safe. The silence at Red Pine never ends. I moved to Chicago on a gray Friday, the kind of sky that feels heavy on your shoulders. My new apartment was on the second floor of an old brick building on a quiet stretch of Wabash Avenue. The staircase was narrow, the railing worn, and the air smelled of rust and stale coffee. It looked like a movie scene, but stripped of any charm. Just decay. I needed silence. The new job would demand long hours and focus. Medical equipment is delicate. A maintenance mistake could mean more than financial loss. It could mean death. I chose this building based on the ad. Quiet, affordable, few neighbors. It sounded perfect. The key was in a little metal lockbox hanging on the door, just as the agent said. I didn't have to see anyone. I stepped in, shut the door, and looked at my new space. Small but functional. One bedroom, a living room joined with the kitchen, and a tiny bathroom. Furnished in the bare minimum. The couch was old, the bed sank a little too much, but the place had a kind of dark charm, like it had been stuck in time. I unpacked fast, spent hours setting up my books, my computer, my tools. I only noticed the strange thing after sundown. The bedroom dresser drawer was jammed. I pulled hard until it flew open and something fell to the floor. A black notebook wrapped in electrical tape. I flipped through it. Scribbles, torn pages, repeated words. Not dead. The door again. He knows my name. A few pages had nothing but shaky lines, but in the corner of several pages, one name appeared. Liar. I glanced around like I expected someone to be there. The name echoed in my head. I closed the notebook and shoved it back into the drawer. I thought about asking the building manager, but it was late. I made some instant noodles, took a quick shower, and went to bed. I slept poorly. Dreamed of a door slamming over and over in a place I couldn't see. Next morning, I went down to grab coffee. The manager was scrubbing the stairwell. A short, weathered woman, dressed in a sweatshirt way too warm for the weather. "Good morning," I said. "Sorry to ask, but do you know who lived in 2B before me?" She stopped, looked up, but didn't reply right away, then simply said, "Been empty a while." "You sure?" I asked. I found a notebook in the bedroom. It had a name, Liar. Her eyes hardened. "People leave things. You should throw it away. Those things stick. Stick." She went back to scrubbing. Didn't say another word. I returned to the apartment, trying not to think about it. But something gnawed at me. The way she reacted, like the name itself was something dangerous to say aloud. Saturday, I found something else. An old digital voice recorder, the kind with worn-out buttons, tucked behind some plates in the kitchen. I pressed play. Static at first, then a woman's voice. "If you're hearing this, it means he's still coming in." Silence. Breathing. Then, "Don't open if he knocks. Please, don't open." I stopped the recording. My chest tightened. I looked around. The bedroom door was ajar, but I distinctly remembered closing it. Next morning, I locked the recorder in the desk drawer and tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe someone mentally unstable. Maybe some sick prank. But the voice didn't feel fake. It trembled like someone exhausted from being afraid. Work consumed me. The days started to blur. Repairs reports, the sterile whir of machines. But at night, the apartment changed. At first, it was subtle. The fridge buzzed louder. The bathroom heater made a deeper hum. At 3:04 a.m. every night, I heard a creaking sound above my head. I assumed it was the upstairs neighbor, but there was no upstairs. The building only had 2 floors, and I was on the second. Tuesday night, I found another recording, not in the apartment, in my pocket. I was coming back from work, exhausted. I reached for my phone and found a memory card tucked beside it. My heart froze. I replayed my day. No one had come close enough to slip it in. No one. I put it in my laptop. A single audio file. Her voice, clearer this time. "He's getting close to you too, isn't he?" Long pause. "It starts with sounds, then dreams. But he doesn't want to hurt you. He just wants you to open the door." Silence. I heard the walls breathing. He was behind them. He still is. I shut everything down. Someone was watching me. That was a fact now, using Liar as a character. But why? What kind of game was this? I walked aimlessly through the city, ended up in a half-empty bar, ordered a beer, tried to ignore the growing pressure in my chest. When I went to pay, I realized my credit card was gone. I rushed home and found the front door unlocked. But nothing seemed out of place, except the bathroom mirror. Someone had written in the steam, "You're hearing it now, aren't you?" I went back to the manager the next day. I wanted answers, just a full name, a record of the last tenant. She opened the door a crack. "I just want to know who Liar was." "Her last name? What happened?" She hesitated. Her eyes weren't surprised, Just resigned. Nobody told you before you moved in? Told me what? She lived there, alone, for months. Said she heard things in the walls, voices, a man. Claimed the whole building was a trap. And then she disappeared. Disappeared how? Just didn't show up one day. Cops came. Apartment was clean, no forced entry, no sign of her, just one thing left behind, lipstick on the mirror. He got in. I swallowed hard. And you rented it out again. She shrugged. Not illegal. We painted, cleaned. The weird stuff stopped. For a while. And now? She didn't answer. Just shut the door. Back upstairs, the recorder was on my desk. I had locked it away. I pressed play. It was my voice. Sleeping. Breathing. Then a whisper that wasn't mine. He's behind the wall. Waiting. I stared at the bedroom wall. The paint, it was pulsing slightly. I pressed my ear to it, and I swear I heard someone whisper my name. Next morning, I brought my laptop to work. I needed to hear the recording again in a safe space. But when I opened the folder, the file was gone. Not in the trash, just gone. I asked around if anyone had noticed anything strange about me. One coworker joked, "Saw you talking to yourself in the break room the other day. You looked kind of blank." I didn't remember that. That night, the creaking came again. Not from above, from inside the wall next to my bed. I got up, cautiously, placed a hand on the dry wall, cold but vibrating. I thought about knocking, then something knocked back. 3 distinct knocks. From inside, I stumbled back, turned on all the kitchen lights, tried locking the front door. The bolt jammed like someone was holding it from the other side. I didn't open it. Next morning, it was locked again. Perfectly. I went to the city records office, asked about previous tenants. The clerk was helpful until he saw the last entry for Unit 2B. Laya Campbell. Yeah, signed a 6-month lease, stayed 4. Any family? No relatives on file. But, look at this. He turned the screen. 2 separate lease entries, same name, different signatures, different ID photos. That's not normal, right? He shook his head slowly. Looks like someone tried to overwrite something, or someone. That night, the wall crack had grown. Now it was a seam, splitting the paint-like skin. I found a note taped to the back of the recorder. "You're the second. Don't let him make a third." Later that night, something heavy thudded in the bedroom. I ran in. The wall had opened. A thin door-shaped slit now stood where the crack had been. From inside, I heard a voice. Familiar. Tom. Laya's voice. "You get it now, don't you?" "No," I whispered. "You weren't chosen. You were forgotten. That's worse." Inside the crack, something shifted. A surface. Reflective. I saw my own face, but it didn't mimic me. It moved on its own. Then it smiled and said with my voice, "I woke up in a white room. No windows, no doors, just a bed, a mirror and a recorder playing softly." The tape said, "The new tenant is on the way. The room is ready. The previous has been replaced. I still hear voices through the walls. I know the building is still out there. The room is still available. And someone, somewhere, is about to sign the lease. Not out of malice, just by mistake. Just by existing."